All right, so let's talk about the sun moving into Capricorn and how this is a very unique time frame. If you aren't keeping up with the astrology, that's totally fine. That's what today is all about. And if you are, you probably know or have read or have seen that things are happening on our planet being affected by these planetary alignments. And as you know, I've always said that the planetary alignments are just they are a symbol for the energy that we're in, right? So it's not like the planets are making us feel a certain way or they're doing anything to us. It's that we're all working together. The energy is all working together to activate certain things so that we can grow, heal, and expand. And we are definitely in one of those time periods. But when we're in one of those time periods, we're also challenged in a lot of ways. And the challenges, we grow from the challenges, right? From meeting those challenges head on. And I talked about in my previous video, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot, the great conjunction that's happening on the day that the sun moves into Capricorn. And the significance of that is massive because the solstice is always when the sun moves into that 0-degree point of Capricorn. That is always going to be the winter solstice, that moment in time where that is activated. And it is the darkest day of the year, and it's also the day where the poles are affected. And so if you're just joining me, hello, I'm talking about Capricorn season. And so because of that, those poles being activated, those poles are activated, and then also the fact that we are under a time period where the poles are shifting, and the magnetic poles on the earth are shifting, and so we are going to feel this. And if you're not already feeling it, and there's a little bit of underlying anxiety, because whenever I don't know if you've ever read The Big Leap, but he always talks about when we have this anxiety that we can't put our finger on, it's that something new is calling onto us, right? And so because we don't have a way to identify that or be aware of that in our culture, we don't typically teach people, right, how to deal with these growth periods that we all go through. Our growth doesn't end, at any certain age. We have the opportunity and the ability to continue to grow and shift and change. And in The Big Leap, he talks about that uncertainty that we all feel, and that can come across as anxiety when we're being called into something bigger than we have been in. So dark. Hi, Jeremy. So this all being said, Capricorn season is the workhorse of the zodiac. In Capricorn season, we are being asked to really put that work into action. If you have a lot of Capricorn in your chart, you probably identify as someone who is a hard worker or knows that they can work hard, and that really values that structure and that stability that hard work typically brings. So Capricorn is an earth sign. It is the last of the earth signs, and it's interesting because even though it's the last of the earth signs, it is a cardinal sign, and so it initiates a new cycle, which it initiates in winter. And winter, even though winter is a time of rest and hibernation, and if you have your planetary planner, there's the pages there for winter solstice, and I talk a lot about like where are you needing to rest and what dreams are you needing to dream of for this new cycle, because at the winter solstice it is the seed that is like planted in the earth, and that's Capricorn is an earth sign. That's really that deep inner work that obviously spills out into the whole time we've been here. I don't think a boat has been running, but now there's one running. But so it spills out into your work in the world. And so Capricorn has to do with your work in the world, and it also has to do with your public persona, the way that you are perceived by others. So one of the things about Capricorn season, and it being that seed that we plant deep in the earth at the winter solstice, is even though winter is a time of rest, Capricorn is the hardest working sign. And so I kind of view this as a way to sow the seed for the whole year, and knowing that it's not all going to come into fruition during Capricorn season, but that main structure, that main, when we set our goals for the year, that's under Capricorn season. which is why I'm starting solar powered on the day of the solstice. We're sowing that seed deep in the earth, and we will be primarily focusing on reparenting ourselves. And not that our own parents weren't great, but I feel as though during Capricorn season, because we need that stability, because we need that structure, and because some of us either got too much of that or not enough of that, it's an opportune time to dive in and really balance out some of the areas where maybe we're too hard on ourselves in certain areas, or maybe we're, not driven enough in other areas, and to really bring that into alignment so that you can reach your goals in 2021, so that it's not just, this dream of a dream, like I'm gonna set these intentions but not follow through on any of them. So that's what solar power is about, is like the alignment with your soul so that you can meet the goals that you set for yourself, and having that collective support the whole way through. And each month we focus on a zodiac sign for the cycle that we're in. Oh, that's not a boat, that's a crane. So that's what's happening, and today's the last day to get into solar powered. So if you want to get into solar powered, I highly recommend you jump in. I have a monthly payment plan, and it literally is like a counseling session a month, and you're getting probably, I want to say, like 50 times more than you'd get in a counseling session. So really consider that investment for yourself and how that will pay off in your whole life for the year of 2021. So Capricorn season it's an earth season. It's starting a new cycle. It's really about getting to our divine work and the structure and stability that we need to pull in order to make it happen. And we're going to have the full moon on December 29th, and this is a continuation of eclipse season. So the new moon eclipse just happened on the 14th. I love that Jeremy and Zuri are watching. Hi guys, you could just come outside and listen to me. So the full moon is on the 29th. It is a continuation of the eclipse that we had on the 14th, and it really activates and awakens where we need to nurture, because it's in Cancer, where we need to nurture and care for the places where we were asked to expand into during the eclipse time period. So as we know, the eclipse doesn't just happen in a day. It's like these cycles that we're in. So this eclipse cycle will last for the next 6 months. So we're still getting clear on the work that needs to happen. We're still getting clear on the energies that we're being asked to move into at this full moon. So that is on the 29th, and it's at 8 degrees of Cancer. So look in your chart and see where 8 degrees of Cancer is. That's going to be the point where the full moon's happening. So if you have planets or placements there, they're going to be active. And obviously the same if you have planets or placements in Capricorn, that's the opposite where the sun's going to be, and that's also going to be a very active point. Before I go too much into the full moon, one of the main things that is happening tomorrow is that, and I'll have a whole other video on this, but I did want to mention it since we are talking about the great conjunction that's going to be happening in in Aquarius with Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter every 13 months changes signs, and it's changing signs tomorrow into Aquarius, and this will be felt. So pay attention to what happens on the world scale and also within your own life, wherever Aquarius, your early degrees of Aquarius is in your chart, in your house system, in your chart. Notice and pay attention to what's happening tomorrow and where you might be noticing some minor shifts occurring. I will have a whole other video on that, so I won't spend too much time there. I want to really focus on the full moon. But again, if you haven't ordered your planetary planner, I also have a digital version. So for those of you that are international and it might just be easier to get a digital version, or even if you are in the States and you just would prefer a digital version, I have that on my website as well. Check those out. Super helpful for not only the astrology for 2021, but also staying true to your goals and really envisioning your life based on building around your values and not just having life come at you. Really moving yourself forward based on your values. So the world is not happening to you, the planets are not happening to you. You are an active participant, and if you can cultivate that more, watch how the way that the world shifts to you, and the way that other people that you're interacting with shift to you. So that all being said, let's talk a little bit more about this full moon on December 29th, 2020. So Sun moving into Capricorn on the 21st at the solstice, at the Great Conjunction. Amazing big shifts happening. Then as that happens, we'll start being pulled into this full moon energy, which is very emotional, but also very nurturing, and can be nurturing depending on your chart, depending on how much inner work you have done. It might be a time where you are, big surprise, pulled into being at home and wanting to care for your home, maybe wanting to, get rid of things and cultivate that feeling of hominess more, but also home within your own body. So it's a great time to take good care of your body and initiate and start some new ways of doing that. Mercury has been really active. It was really active at the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, and then it's going to, because it's moving so fast. And then we will have a Mercury retrograde where it will slow down and turn around, not till the end of January. But I'm just saying this because it's so speedy that means that we're getting tons of information, things that we need to process, things thrown at us that we need to sort through. And so it is conjunct this full moon. And so that means it has moved all the way. It blasted through Sagittarius so quickly. And it's going to be in Capricorn and conjunct this full moon. So not only is the full moon going to be about nurturing ourselves and caring for ourselves, and it could be a little bit emotional, it can also be processing and processing, like I talked about with the solar powered. What we're going to be focusing on for the solar powered group for our first session is diving deep into our reparenting, and we're going to do an amazing thing that I have actually had done for me. That was a huge part of my own healing journey. We're going to do that as a start, as a segue into this whole year. And the reason being is that at this full moon too, the way that we were parented, or our parent relationship, also can be lit up, because the way that we're processing it, Mercury, and then the authority and the authority that we received or didn't receive from our parents is very active at this full moon. So that can either be like a parental relationship with your mother or father. It could also be any authority figures that you had to deal with or didn't have when you were younger that you maybe needed or didn't need. So all of that being said, the time is ripe to work on that deep foundational work around the parenting that we did or didn't receive. And then also, obviously, if you are a parent, like for me, it's very active as far as like figuring out what our children need, especially during these challenging times, and how to call forth our own kind of most wise part to deal with what our children need at this time. So definitely look at your own chart, see where this full moon is kicking up the energy for you. So where 8 degrees of Cancer Capricorn falls in your chart, and the full moon is on the 29th. And we are also going to have a sextile between the moon and Uranus, and Uranus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. Uranus is the sudden change maker, so there could be sudden ahas, awakenings, places where you can experience healing. And really, it's a great time to set up a healing session and make sure that you're tending to your emotions and where you need to be nurtured in your own life. So that being said, those are there's a lot happening in the chart. There's also, Neptune is squaring the nodes, which is a slower transit that is happening now until the end of January. But when Neptune squares the nodes of the moon have to do with our future self and our past self. And when Neptune's squaring it, it's either where we choose to go unconscious to not moving forward in our lives, or it's where we get to get very spiritual and very aligned with where we're meant to move forward in our lives. So the choice is ours, right? And that's so much of these planetary shifts and planetary alignments are, so much of it falls on our own free will and what we choose to activate and what we choose to go unconscious to as we're being kind of shifted into new areas and new opportunities, okay? Not only that, we have Venus conjunct the South Node, and the higher octave of Venus is Neptune. So the fact that our South Node, our past, has Venus there, it's the opportunity to love on and to value our past. And it's in Sagittarius, and so it's like love on and value our past and where we maybe were experienced, heartbreak, or experienced places where our heart had been broken a little bit, and bring that healing through Neptune, and so that we can move forward into this new way of being with the North Node in Gemini. The North Node in Gemini is an interesting time period to be in, as you guys are well aware. It was there, it started in May 2020, and it won't shift into the North Node will shift into Taurus, but not until 2021. So we have some time with this weird kind of forward movement into the trickster energy. And at its highest place, Mercury allows us to process and sort through a lot of the things that we need to sort through in order to move forward. So by the time that the North Node moves into Taurus, we will have a lot more grounding and a lot more value to where we're moving forward because of what we've been through this last year and 2021, what we will go through. So I'm sorry, I said 2021, and now I'm like, with this change of the years, so I think it's 2022 that the node shifts into Taurus. Man, it's noise. Okay, so that's that, and so that's the full moon, and then moving into the new moon. So we're talking about the cycle of the sun being in Capricorn and the full and new moon that we're going to experience. And the new moon is on Wednesday, January 13th. And it is at 23 degrees of Capricorn, 23 degrees of Capricorn, and Pluto is at 24 degrees of Capricorn. So to understand that is to understand a lot, because last year in January, we had an eclipse in Capricorn with Pluto and Saturn, and it was very intense, and that was before a lot of these things that were already happening we weren't aware of them. So at this time, when we see Pluto conjunct a new moon, it's a new cycle, but it's a new cycle during which we have to dig a little deeper. Pluto is unearthing the uncomfortable matter so that we can heal, so that we can sift and sort through and come into our power a little bit more. So really look at where 23 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart. Interestingly, right, we've had a lot of energy at the end degrees. The last 10 degrees of Capricorn is, I mean, so much. I mean, I've taken so many pictures and stories showing you guys, like, Jupiter and Saturn and Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn, like all these things. And so to have a new cycle there on that spot where we've been doing so much work, it's a new opportunity to view what we've been through. I mean, I hear so many people, and I get it, it's been a hard year, but I hear so many people like blaming 2020, like really focusing on how horrible it was, instead of seeing like, wow, before that we had been really lucky, we had been really blessed, we had been really grateful, and even now we have things to be grateful for. So really shifting our awareness to like the work that we need to do in order to get into our gratitude, in order to get into our abundance, so that we're not allowing, again, the world to dictate our emotions. Instead, we're allowing our emotions to dictate our world. So that new moon also has a square between Saturn and Uranus. So Uranus is active not only at the full moon but also at the new moon, and this is a more challenging aspect. So whereas at the full moon we might have aha moments and have sudden shifts and awakenings, with this square, we want to be very cautious of our words, cautious of our actions, cautious of where we are putting our energy and where we're pulling back our energy. You know, I don't know what day the inauguration is supposed to happen, or if it is I don't know. I'm not going to talk about politics, but it is interesting that this new moon is very, it's got so many aspects to it, and it's very challenging. And so to have a new moon that's challenging it sets the whole tone for that whole lunar cycle, which we'll talk about when I get into Aquarius time period. But just to know and to take note that, you know, January, even though I said we're in graduation time now, you know, there's going to be new challenges in January that require us to be present to our own emotions and really diving into the work that we need to do at an individual level, which is all that I've been talking about, which is why I have Solar Powered starting on the 21st. And like I said, if you're interested in that program, definitely today is the last day to reach out about it. So I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. I think that's all I want to say about the full and new moon in Capricorn season. But definitely do reach out if you're interested in Solar Powered, because this is the time that we're really being asked to tend to our own emotions and do our own healing work. And the outcome of that is so great. It's so worth it. And it's so easy to stay complacent and then be miserable. So if you're feeling the call to really shift things in a major way, definitely reach out, get in Solar Powered. I put the link in my profile. Maybe you can't do Solar Powered. You can still get a planetary planner, which is really going to also help and assist in a more personalized, like on your own, work on your own way. So those are the two things that I would just recommend. And have a beautiful weekend. Moving towards Monday is definitely an important time to meditate, to be present, to stay hydrated, and to really get into the dreamy place where you can really be receptive to the energy and pay attention to what's coming up for you in the next few days. All right, take care. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I don't know, somebody posted a question, I think. Oh, okay, it wasn't a question. Okay, bye guys, take care.